Welcome, fellow travelers. My name is IllPeonU, owner of TheHiddenDaggerInn. I'm joining Chibi and Vertec at the Golden Feather. Come on in and grab a seat, and let's share some tales of adventure.
Hello, and welcome to the Golden Feather Tavern, where your hosts, Chibi and Vertec, discuss Ashes of Creation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Every week, we invite you, the viewer, and a special guest to pull up a chair, grab a pint, and join the conversation with us. Today is the 2nd of April, 2024. We're on episode 201. The Spinning Fighter wins with the traveling bard for the day, IllPeonU from TheHiddenDaggerInn.
Greetings
How
and
are
salutations.
you today, friend Peon?
I am wonderful. How are you, Mr. Vertec and Chibi? Thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you so much, Phantom X, for 2 months. Cheers. Do this.
Thank you, Phantom X. Much appreciated, and welcome on
I didn't know
in.
what to do with my hands.
What do I do with my hands?
But we are so excited. As soon as TheHiddenDaggerInn became a big part of the community, I was very excited to get him on. So super excited for today.
Yeah, since
With that-
Peon became a stunning celebrity in the scene. Oh,
Surely you
But-
just.
well, for those who may or may not have heard of you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Namely, let's start at the beginning. Where in the world did you get the name, and how so?
All right. I get this question a lot. I'll pee on you. We're going to go way back into the future, back into the past, okay? I'm an old fart. I'm 52 years old. I'm a blast from the past. So I first started off with a game called Warcraft Orcs and Humans. You're probably all familiar with the RTS game of Warcraft. I loved playing the orcs, and if I didn't like you, I would kill you by bringing my horde of peons and destroying your town hall. And that's how my name became IllPeonU. And then obviously it has a double meaning. So if I didn't like you and I kill you in the real world in a gank box, well, if there was a P emote, well, possibly. But but other than that, yep, that's how I got it. And I've kind of come full circle back to that name. So there you go.
Very nice.
Hoo-ha, hoo-ha. And I'm going to apologize real quick. We got at least the intro of the name, which is glorious, by the way. Love when names have an actual story instead of just I thought of something funny and I used it at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, normally I would normally say TV, what do we have on tap for the day?
It's okay. Vertec's been gone for 2 weeks. We're a little out of practice again.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about some community live stream feedback on the fighter, such as thoughts on combat, mana management, and Augment System. And then we're going to talk a little bit about experience within Ashes, such as incremental level caps, progression paths, experience stat, and then of course our favorite random topics from the community. And the most important today, though, is TheHiddenDaggerInn.
So for those who don't know you, tell us about your name. No.
Well, see, it goes back to
What kind of content do you make? And if you're not making the kind of content you want to make now, what kind of content would you like to make?
Sure. As far as content goes, I stream on Twitch. I came back to streaming, which I mentioned privately to you guys that I did about 8 years ago. So I still actually have some followers. Unfortunately, they don't follow me in this genre. So it's a different genre since it was Dead by Daylight. So Hidden Dagger on Twitch TV. But I also wanted to delve into the YouTube content, which is a brand new channel. It is really brutal to make a new YouTube channel, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. So if you're out there watching, head on over there and give me a sub. Give me some love. Watch my videos. Tell me if they suck or they're good. All right, thanks. Also, I really, with my Twitch TV channel and my YouTube channel, what I'm trying to get off is my passion for AOC, for Ashes, that I want to try to help the community. I love Ashes because I believe it's going to bring community back to MMOs. Okay. And that, along with like it's not the AOC, but like a realm pride, a node pride, if you will, back to the MMO genre. And I want to be able to help all the new flood of people that are going to be coming in to learn about Ashes. And that's kind of my goal, is to just try to be a helpful part of the community and help out where I can. And I think it's important that all the content creators are giving the right info about Ashes, because we all know what state it is in, because it's extremely important that we are the mature children in the group that are letting people know what direction they should go and how things are going. So in a nutshell,
yes, be the good big brother.
Yeah.
So, don't go hazing the new people.
I do love YouTube. It's
new people.
It's a lot of fun. It's my first videos really sucked, I'm not gonna lie. But
as do all of ours.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little while to get used to the editing, and I try to improve myself with every video, as I'm sure everybody does who's making YouTube content. But yeah, the struggle is real. The YouTube algorithm hates me, so I'm pretty confident. But
yeah, we know that feeling.
Yeah. But
so, what would you say would be, if you could choose one video about any content and you could go through and test it all right meow and write up a script or what have you and make a video on it? What do you think you would do it on? Like your very first, if you had a choice of anything, what would be the very first?
Any content. Well, I mentioned to Chibi what I'm thinking about, and actually I already have a video made and it's not out yet, but it will be coming out. And the reason I believe this is important is because it's Steven. Steven is the reason that this all exists. We have a gamer making a game for gamers by a gamer. And with his first of all, he's extremely intelligent and smart. To be able to drop what he was doing from his real estate and investments and then go into learning how to make games, and he's just so knowledgeable about all that stuff, to put his own money where his mouth is, him and John both, is just extremely impressive. And what I think people are forgetting with Steven is his Pathfinder background. He is literally making he's bringing his Pathfinder background into Ashes and making a whole world we're basically our own MMO of Dungeons and Dragons, if you will, real time. And
yeah,
and I really admire what he's doing. He's really stepping out there. Everything in the world changes, right? So as time goes on, things change. So this is just one of those things that I believe is going to be changing. And yes, I believe that Steven needs a little bit more recognition than he's getting. Maybe not for his game playing skills, because they kind of suck. I'm not gonna lie, Steven. Sorry. But
poor Steven. Everybody comments on his game.
I gotta talk a little trash. I'm old. I'm allowed to do that. It's a rite of passage when you're old. When you guys get that age, you can do that. Steven's still a noob compared to me. So anyway, but yeah. I think Steven deserves a little bit more credit. So if I had to choose a topic, it would be Steven. So right now, about Ashes.
Also, Gildumbra is totally trolling in chat right now.
Yeah, just so you guys know, Umbra's an old pal. He's been, met him back in the very beginning, like alpha beta days of SOTOR. He's been around a minute. He's pulling a little bit of a troll. So yeah, Rocco. If you see any interactions between the two of us, it's full tilt trolling, both ends. Oi. But
I was gonna ask the next question if that's okay, unless you had something that you want to answer.
Nope. Go for it.
What got you into making content for Ashes of Creation specifically?
You guys and the rest of the content creators out there. Been a fan of AOC for a real long time, and obviously watching your show and watching the rest of the YouTube videos out there, I loved the way that your community was coming together, and very selfless, working together, stuff like that, having these videos with other people, other bards. And I wanted to be a part of that. So I credit you guys and the rest of the content creators for being so welcoming to me and bringing me in and letting me be part of the gang. That has inspired me to just keep putting out as much content as I can, the best quality content that I can, and trying to help, let my 2 viewers of my channel going, hey guys, go check out Chibi in Vertec over at the Golden Feather Tavern, whatever it is, doing a raid or just doing my part to try to help out and get the word out. I would love to say that it's going to stay this way. I am concerned with the flood of content creators that we're going to have coming in, that it might not, but that doesn't mean that we can't still be close. So I'm glad that I met you guys now. Let's just say that. And yes, you guys are the reason that I am in content creation. So thank you.
Aww. So I'm very happy to hear that. Words. Yeah.
I'm glad we have a positive influence on the youth of today.
Well, it was Chibi, not you. Sorry.
Okay. Fair enough.
Use it.
Welcome in, Grove. Thank you for the resub. The tavern opened and I missed the first cup of mead. You did. It's okay. You're here now, though, so you should find an intern to help you out with stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I heard that interns never work out. They're slackers. Yeah, that's how I got my start into SOTOR and whatnot, and into podcasting. Is I jumped in and I was helping Umbra or Hammer with a website he was running for SOTOR. Mm-hmm. I was basically the intern.
It's a lot of work doing content creation and stuff behind the scenes. A lot of people don't realize what goes into it. I recently just made a rant on the Ashes forum about how I felt like the Reddit community treats content creators. It's not well.
No. There's a reason why you never see us over there with promotions or anything like that. I'm like, I just don't want to deal with that.
It's frustrating when you put your heart and soul into a video and it just gets nothing but trashed. But it is what it is. So some people have grown up pants, and I guess I have mine on.
But we've been blessed lately with having an editor kind of step in and help us out. So actually, thanks to you guys, we were able to give her a little bit of a thank you donation for all the time and effort she puts into this. So
she's been super duper helpful.
Yeah,
like crazy helpful.
It's literally, as busy as we were like way busy trying to do all that plus what I'm doing. This just freed me up to do other stuff. So very excited. And honestly, we always try to look for people within the community, but oh no. Yeah, Wizzy says I always think Reddit is where happiness goes to die, not a place for me. And I honestly, I like grabbing topics from the Reddit, especially when they don't go off on a weird tangent. But, I think sometimes they have a really good thing talked about. And sometimes people actually do really well, especially with the conversations. I think that they end up discussing stuff pretty well, especially when they're in a good mood. Because I feel like Reddit has good moods and bad moods, like that, that ornery, emotional friend of yours who's just you never know if they're in a good mood or a bad mood. You just know if they're in a good mood when you post stuff. Because I've noticed people will post conversations or discussion topics, and people will either boo it or they will, just go along with it and actually engage. And it's one of those it depends on the day, I guess.
Do we think that's going to change when Alpha 2 comes out? Do you think it's going to be more positive or more negative?
I'm hoping it becomes more positive. I understand that Reddit's stance in general so far for content creators has been that the game's not out yet. So these are just people fishing for views and for trying to make content on something that's not even out. And it typically goes towards like the guide for the fighter or the guide for this or like the best way to do that. Like we don't know that
Everything you
information.
need to know about Summoner.
Exactly. Like everything
We
you
don't
know
know
about
anything
X.
about Summoner. We know it's going to summon things. That's all we know. That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so like for a while there, I feel like especially with Alpha
Big
1,
brain right there.
there was stuff like that flooding the Reddit, and I think that just kind of made them dislike content creators. I don't know.
Yeah.
That is what it is. I think eventually over time people would be more positive towards it, especially as Alpha 1 is persistent and the game for betas and things like that, and that game launching in the future. I feel like it'll eventually
I'll try again in Alpha 2. Until then, I'm hands off of Reddit right now because I got better things to do. If I want to be insulted, I'll ask my kids.
If I would like to burn in a fire, I'll set it myself. Thank you very much.
Right. Which Raka says, after the fighter stream, we now know the sword goes swoosh, and that actually brings us perfect timing. To actually, do you want to choose a discussion theme? We can talk about the live stream feedback. We can talk about experience within Ashes. Is there anything that's like pull into you that you're wanting to talk about more?
I'll talk about the fighter stream. I absolutely love the fighter stream. You want me to go ahead and take it away, or you got?
Is there any particular topic listed there that you would like to start us off with?
Let's see. Let me go ahead and pull that back up. Sorry. I lost it here. I completely lost it. You're going to have to take it away on that one, Chibi, because it's not on my computer right now, and I can't find it.
Oh no.
You hit me at a topic, and then I'll talk if you like.
Umbra, you are ridiculous right now. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about combat because this is not anything new. But Chicago on the forums wanted to talk about thoughts on the combat after the live stream. And honestly, this is something that has been stated multiple times that, they feel like the combat is not where it should be, et cetera, et cetera. I believe Steven's even kind of pointed this out that, the combat isn't really the focus at the moment quite yet. It's getting the thing set up in the first place, and then combat will be tweaked as Alpha 2 goes. So Chicago saying, I was really concerned about combat after watching this. It's obvious to see the Intrepid are making huge strides in the work that they have done on combat, and I can't give them enough credit for this. I can see by just watching this that they are already taking steps towards balancing combat around PvP, and I love to see this. There's one thing I would critique that I'm really curious about others' opinions. Take this with a grain of salt, because this could feel extremely different whilst playing, and that's the biggest part I would like to add. Watching somebody play feels very different than playing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So Chicago says, I think that too many animations are still locking the character in place. From my experience, this has never felt fun to play. Keep in mind, I can't tell how it feels just by watching. What do you think? Do you think the animations are too strong? Do you think they're keeping the person locked in?
No, I don't. I actually I thought this combat probably to me looked the best that it's looked since they've had dev streams. I have no problem with, like, say, the Cataclysm that locks you into place as you cast it. I have no problem with that. I thought the Blitz looked fantastic. The leap ability was outstanding. It reminded me of Arcage ability from Behind the Lines, from the Battle Rage archetype. No, I think their combat looks good. And again, you can't, just like you mentioned, we can't tell until we play it, because it's going to feel a lot different when we're actually playing it and playing against somebody else. He was not fighting anybody other than the monsters. So, which goblins, which, by the way, Steven, if you're watching ever, it was sounding awesome. So Tori and Andrew, I believe, were the ones that did the audio on that, and they did a fantastic job. So no, I have absolutely no problem with the combat. I'm actually very excited with the direction it's going. I think people need to just relax a little bit and wait till we get into Alpha 2. Look, when we get into Alpha 2, you're going to get to see all the PvP you want. Everyone's going to have a stream up there of fighting caravans, of ganking people, node wars, guild wars, doing everything. People just need to relax. Let's judge then. Let's give Intrepid that much and judge it then. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many skills locking the player in place. At least from looking at it, again, it's going to be different depending on how it feels when played. But looking at it, no, it doesn't feel too bad. I always believe there should be a decent number that either lock someone in place or slow you down incredibly.
Yeah.
Like if you're working on a big power move like that Cataclysm example Peon mentioned, it should take you a moment to swing a gigantic sword and literally crush the ground, right? It shouldn't be just an incident like a flick of the hand as you're running by.
If I had to pick and be picky, the only skill that I didn't like was the lunging ability, where I felt that I could reach farther into the refrigerator than that move went. So it didn't really feel like a lunge. So I think that one could use a little bit of tweaking. Of course, they're going to have to probably tweak that exert ability, the quote God mode, because that one looks like a little ridiculous. But other than that, and I believe it's been stated that the fighter will have the most gap closing abilities, and it showed it. Being able to jump up on a cliff with two different abilities, with the leap and the blitz, that's crazy. So no, I'm very excited. I love the direction they're going. Now if they can just show me Rogue.
Yeah. My opinion on this, the whole fighter to get mine in, is that I think, like you said, it's getting better. But I was also correct, I want to say. I don't remember where I said this. I don't know when I said it. It may have been on a Tavern Talk episode. But I said I thought that the fighter was going to offset the ranger, and they kind of proved my point. Just by the way that they explained it on the wiki, with saying that, like you mentioned, gap closers, etc. I think that was a little bit of a thing that I keyed into as like a ranger creates gaps, fighter closes gaps. So
they need a melee class like that to be able to gap close, or else it's just going to be a ranged game, range and casters, and that's not going to be fun for anybody who chooses to do melee. And that's another reason why I think people sleep on the tank ability, where they're able to throw that javelin and pull them back in. That's going to be huge. So, do the scorpion, get over here. So, that's going to be big, so I think that they're trying to give a little bit of love to melee as well. And you need that. It's absolutely need that.
And Chibi, did you also notice, since you were talking about fighter closing gaps on Ranger, with his gap closing abilities, he actually had to jump before it would go vertical? Because both of them, the dash thing and the jumpy skill, he used them, but he hit the ground. He like slid off the cliff and didn't quite go up there until he ran over across the river, jumped first, and then used it.
Yeah,
I remember hearing, I don't know why this is popping up word. Sorry. I remember hearing something, because I was working while that was going on. I remember the dev saying something about like not quite getting the vertical thing to work yet. And then like right after he said that, Steven had gotten it apparently, because the response was like, oh, there you go. But yeah, I think that's really cool, because that shows a lot of versatility, and if a ranger is gonna pop up there, then the fighter can say, I can do that too.
They just have to remember to hit the jump button before they smash their skill. If not, they're going to slip and fall on their face and hit the cliff sideways.
Right. This goes back to Vertex's favorite saying of spacebar best skill. But
best skill in every game.
I am very excited. Kind of a thing that Chicago brought up is that it seems like it might be centered around PvP. And I think that's a smart thing, because it's a PvX game with a lot of PvP happening, right? So I think that's really intelligent for them to base it around PvP. I cannot wait to see some actual PvP. And I can't wait to see how people do in Alpha 2 with PvP. I think it's very exciting. And on that kind of note or sentiment, I want to talk about the Augment System reveal for the fighter. Nerror posted this on the forums asking, how do you feel about the Augment System reveal from the fighter stream? And he puts a timestamp link in there for the 4K video. And Steven mentioned the Augment System and said that the skill tree with the skill specs is foundational for the Augment System. At around 1844 in the 4K fighter video on YouTube, he starts talking about augments and tells us that augments are essentially skill specs that can alter the skills a bit more radically than regular skill specs. He mentions one of the whirlwind skill specs as an example of what an augment could be. Excuse me. I hope that augments are a bit more impactful than that specific skill spec, though. From the wiki, augments can affect a multitude of things and can, in some cases, create entirely new skills, such as drastically changing the ability itself, change the damage type and value, change the cooldown period, change the distance of the skill, change the effect of the from a range to a melee ability. What are your thoughts on that? That's crazy. That's
I am a little bit concerned about the augment system. I do love it. I think it's important. They're going to have to really make them, I think, a little bit more different than they're actually making them right now. I fear that this is a poor man's ancestral system from Arcage, if you guys played Arcage at all.
I didn't play it, but
I don't know if they're going to be able to change them enough with doing what they're talking about to create that. Why do I want to, how is it really going to affect this other class? Like, for example, I can see for a fighter, if you're going to take the fighter archetype and you're going to be a rogue as a secondary, which should, if I'm correct, be a shadow blade. So the fighter has that long line of rupture, where the one that makes the guy bleed out like a whole, gallon of blood or whatever. Anyway, the rogue ability will probably have some more bleed damage that will go with that. So those two might couple very well together. But is there going to be enough with their augment system to really separate classes? That's what I'm concerned about. So
I feel like there will be, but Vertec, what are your thoughts?
I'm kind of recovering from being dizzy on the augment
Dizzy?
The augment thing, because throughout time, unless I'm completely misremembering everything, it's gone from it's going to completely change the skill to no, it's just going to augment it a little bit and do a couple things. It's not going to like drastically change the ability. And then today it's it's going to drastically change the ability, like spelled out like that.
Yeah, I want to believe that it's going to be some robust system, and with their tech, I mean, they should be able to do that. But I mean, I think Curian came up with the number of augments. It's like over 8,000, something like that they have to do for all the classes. It's a ridiculous amount of augments. Not to mention the secondary schools, like ones you're going to get from the Scholars Academy and the Thieves Guild and stuff like that, and the other schools that you're going to be able to get them from. That's a lot of augments. How are you going to make those all impactful? I fear that some classes are just going to fall by the wayside. So
yeah,
I hope I'm wrong.
I could see that.
I hope I'm wrong, but
hello, Mad Hatter.
What do you think, Chibi?
I think that honestly, I like the versatility, because at the end of the day, the augments aren't just something random. They're something that you get to choose for the most part. But also remember that some augments come from weapons. I just attacked my microphone. Remember that some augments come from weapons and stuff like that. But I don't know. I like it because I was sitting here wondering, like, if I'm a cleric secondary, how is my cleric secondary going to affect something? So that being the thing that changes the damage type to maybe holy damage would be interesting. Or like a rogue secondary could be something that changes something to melee, perhaps from range. I don't know. I think that it adds a lot of uniqueness. I feel like if anything, it creates more opportunities to be unique within your class.
So is a healer bard going to just, since he's a bard on the secondary and they give mana back, so he's just going to be able to keep giving himself mana back and just heal all the time? I'm very concerned about healers in Ashes. I'm not going to lie.
Why?
Well, One, just the history of healers in general lately over in recent MMOs. They've been compared to older MMOs, which I'm not sure which ones you guys have played, but compared to older MMOs, they are been far too powerful. You should not need 5 people to kill one healer. That should never happen. And watching that caravan video, and I think most people would be able to agree with me, having a whole raid attack Chibi, and yet she's still alive for 10 seconds, made me wonder that it's in the same place that it was in Alpha 1, which I would believe that you would all agree with me that healers then were also extremely overpowered. But yet, we knew we're not balancing yet.
Yeah.
But here we are almost in Alpha 2, and yet it doesn't look like they've changed.
Well, they don't have anything to balance against. They're just finally getting the fighter out.
Not
They're
yet,
just finally getting the ranger out, you know?
This is just something it's been bothering me from a lot of games. Let's look at New World healers. Just look at that as the most recent example.
Before you go too far down the rabbit hole looking at all the different healers, think about what you're balancing a healer against.
Yeah.
Like if the healer's going to fight against a fighter, and if they were to both go toe to toe and just do all out damage, the fighter is going to take 5 to 10, maybe 15% of his life damage, and the healer is going to be laid out.
Hopefully, if the fighter's ability, which is to reduce the healer's healing by up to 50%.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If the healer doesn't do any healing, just goes full out damage, they're going to get 15% of the fighter's health down, and the fighter is going to just wipe the floor with the healer in that time.
I just want them to have.
If the healer, their only resort is to keep themselves alive, why not?
I think
let them be strong enough to keep themselves alive against 3 people.
No, I come from the school where, like, let's say Dark Age of Camelot, if you were a healer and you were running out there in the open world by yourself, you were dead. You couldn't, because the way they work is they had interruptions when you cast. How can you quote, if we're getting immersive, how can you quote chant your heal if someone's popping you in the mouth? You know what I'm saying? If someone's stabbing you, how are you supposed to do that? There's got to be either some kind of interrupt to the cast bar. There has to be a silence mechanic, a stun mechanic, a kick to the noogies, something. But not for everybody, just for a few classes. I still want healers to be strong because I want them to be played. It's gonna be important that they're in groups. Same with bards. I hope bards are very instrumental in group play. I just don't want them overpowered. I don't want to see, but if you're out there, right, and you have some healer that's gathering the best ore in the world, and you want it, but you can't get it because even if you attack him and get corrupt, you don't have 5 friends to help you kill him. So it shouldn't be like that. If you're a rogue per se, you should be able to go snuff that sucker. But
but then if you look at it the other way around, if there's a fighter running around in the fields all alone by himself, he's dead. Does that sound right?
He's dead to who?
But you ask, but to who? But if a healer's running around on their own, they're definitely dead.
If he got the jump on him. But
why would that be a good thing to be able to say that the healer is going to die if they're running around on their own? Why would that be a good balance? But any other fighter, like when I say fighter,
a healer is a support. Yes, a support. It's not a DPS. It's not a tank. It's a support. That's the role we have to look. So, yeah, technically, but we have to look. Stephen claimed that it would be rock, paper, scissors. Yes. So what is the rock and the paper and the scissors to a healer? What can kill a healer? Nothing.
Question.
We haven't gotten
what could a healer kill is the bigger question.
But see, you say that, but they a lot of times, especially if they have a damage ability, they can outlast the other guy. They'll sit there and heal them and hit them and outlast them together.
I think that is absolutely fair. As a person who's played nothing but healers in every single MMORPG I've ever played, that is absolutely fair. There are games like World of Warcraft where I played Holy Priest, where I absolutely 1000% needed Vertec to be with me because I would not last fighting mobs on my own. The cleric in Ashes of Creation is like the D&D cleric. It can wear plate mail. It uses a mace. It is not in the back line, it is in the front line. Thus, a cleric in Ashes of Creation being able to stand its own ground makes sense in Ashes of Creation. It's the way that it's built.
That's one of the things that Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
With the fighter having things like reducing healing, that means that he can hit me with that and I can be fighting him, but I'm not going to heal myself as well. And at that point, it's a race against my mana, which is then a race against my health, because as soon as my mana's out, I can no longer heal myself. As soon as I can no longer heal myself, I'm a sitting duck.
But see, what you said just a second ago, I think what a healer being a little less able to take care of himself against DPS classes, okay, is important in Ashes because it brings that group play. They need DPS, just like they need tanks to be able to keep the aggro off of them so they can heal. I think it all works together where they need each other, and that's a good thing.
Consider this. What I'm describing is a cleric primary, cleric secondary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The way that the secondary augments, the way the secondary augments adjust the augmentation of the primary cleric will change how well it's able to sustain itself.
Yeah. If you're doubling down on the cleric, they should be pretty good. They should be pretty good. Now, here's a question that you brought up. I got a question for one of the things you brought up as far as armor. You're talking about wearing plate armor. We don't know yet what kind. We know that we can wear any kind of armor, but will there be restrictions with those armors? No. And should there be? Do we know that for a fact? Because Arcage, there was restrictions on plate. And there was they gave you bonuses and minuses basically, so it would affect your mana with plate armor.
I think it would be like that. I don't think there'd be
restrictions on plate armor. Everyone will wear plate. Why wear the other ones?
Because plate can probably protect you better, but cloth will probably give you better mana.
What's the negative?
That's what I'm saying.
What's the negative of plate?
So, do you know what the negative of plates is? The negative of plate is magic
resistance, but it should affect mana regen as well.
It probably could if you augment it, right? But we don't know that yet. That's something we have.
I mean, without any augment, it's just a base stat. You know, a base buffer. Like if you have 4 pieces of plate on, it gives you a set. So, which is again from Arcage.
Right, stamina and speed as well, Surgeon.
Yeah, haven't they mentioned something about crafters of sufficient skill being able to make an effort to change out the stats or something?
I'm not sure.
Make them more desirable.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That would be nice as far as stats, but whether they're talking about those kind of stats, I don't know. These are like set bonus stats that, and this is again, the only reason I bring this up is because it's from Arcage, which was a huge influence from Steven. So, and I am worried that if the negatives aren't enough for wearing plate, then everybody's going to wear plate, and then you're not going to.
I really don't.
And the mages
think
are going to love that.
Exactly.
Mages are going to love that.
So, and do we really want to? Do we really want to go that? I mean, I think faster mana regen and possibly even some movement speed might be better with cloth. It would make sense, right?
Right. I think that the way that you can create gear in Ashes and the way that you can affect how that gear has with the augments, the way that you choose it to maybe have a mana pool option with it being leather, maybe leather for your build is better. It comes down to what does the gear give you and what are you trying to go for?
Yeah.
If you're going for pure mana pool, sure, you might have a lot of mana, but maybe you're not as good at like, adjusting that mana or like handling that mana, right? Like, what is the biggest issue with a lot of World of Warcraft or other like mana based, like any role? It's that if you don't know how to manage your mana, you are out of mana a lot.
And we do know that he's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead first.
There's also something else to keep in mind. There's only going to be so many stats you can fit on any one piece of gear, and
right.
You can add that up between all the other gears. And let's say that there are like 7 or 8 prime stats, and then there's like however many waterfall, let's call it 10 waterfall stats, like the crit, etc. So there are, let's call it an even 15 just for number's sake. There are 15 different possibilities, and you can only fit 3 on a piece of armor, or 4 on a piece of armor, or even 5 on a piece of armor. That means you're missing 10.
Right.
You're missing 10 possibilities. So you're choosing which direction you want to focus or adapt to.
The stats I'm talking about are not on your armor. These would be from bonus from wearing the armor itself. It has nothing to do with what's on the armor. This would be a static. If you're wearing 4 pieces of this set or 7 pieces of this set, this is the bonus you will receive. This is what's going to happen. So again, I'm flying by drawing straws here. I don't know if that's the way it's going to be, but if that's the way it was in like an Arc Age, and I believe they're going to have some kind of a similar system to prevent people from wearing all plate.
Final thing on this before I move us to a different topic. Sun Method says the speculation doesn't give Intrepid enough credit. Everything will have trade-offs, and I agree 1000% with that. And actually, because I mentioned something about mana, I want to just quickly touch on this. I know Basil is just as excited about this as me. Bard, the mana management specialist. So, you know, Steven kept saying, we need a bard. We need a bard. I have no mana. We need a bard. And so that gives us a hinting at what the bard's role will be within the party composition. And Xenotex on the forums says, I wanted to open a topic on the bard, given the multiple mentions of bard being responsible for mana management in the recent fighter showcase, which I thought that was really cool, that he could also kind of get some mana back for himself using a skill. So it's not 1000% needed to have a bard at all times, but I bet that would have been a lot easier on him. He wouldn't have had to use that skill if they did have a bard. And so those are like some of the trade-offs of like not having a bard in your party versus having a bard in your party. But the discussion that this person wanted to open up and focus on is countering mana whack-a-mole and making it so bard isn't just a continuous source of free mana, and that protecting your bard and countering debilitating effects that would impede the bard's ability to give resources will be just as important as defending your cleric. I like that. What are your thoughts?
I first of all, I want to say that I'm extremely excited to have bard back in a game, in an MMO, because yes. I love bards. In DAOC, the bards would offer speed to the group, which was a very cool thing. So they'd play their instruments and your group would be faster. So when you're running around the open world, that would help out a lot. So they were wanted for that. Mana regen is great. Although I just wanted, you know, if I remember correctly, Steven's mentioned it before with the bards, as far as the way they're going to generate stuff is going to be a little bit different. I think they said, and quote me if I'm wrong, that correct me if I'm wrong, that they're going to have to do some damage, melee damage or something like that. They want them involved in hitting things to, I don't know, create buffs or abilities. I don't want a bard to sit back and just passively be able to give mana, or else we're going to see a mage sitting here AoE farming with his bot alt sitting here giving him mana, you know, the whole time without doing anything. I want the bard to have to do something to be able to regen that mana for that player. Does that make sense? So, but I am excited to see bards back in the game. I think it's going to be a great, and I hope they are in every group. I mean, look, there's 8 people in a group. Why not? There absolutely should be a bard in your group. So
thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Pocket. And by the way, welcome in Demon Soul Games. Those of you who don't know him, he's one of our buddies. Super awesome guy. Plays a lot of fun stuff and is finally convinced. I believe we finally convinced him to join us in Ashes. Took us long enough. Like just 2 years.
Just like Onthington said, don't underestimate the multi-boxers, because that's absolutely a thing. And we've all seen 8 people running around in WoW. So you know.
Yeah, but I mean that's gonna. Yeah, it's gonna be with every class, to be honest. Like, I want a fighter that has to do stuff besides just push attack buttons, because that's all the fighter had to do is push attack buttons. They had plenty of resources, right?
Yep.
Any class can be said to just become a pocket bot.
Sure.
But I think if it's kind of right in line with what I was thinking Bard was going to be, they're going to be the buffer, the straight support class, like tossing out things that are going to help people. It's kind of like the antithesis to what somebody said Warlock does in World of Warcraft. They said, I don't kill anything. I help cause death is what I do. I don't kill anything. Like, none of these things are my kills. I'm just sowing things out there that are helping everybody else destroy it.
What would you guys think about a bard offering speed to a party? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
That wouldn't bother me.
I mean, it even sounds...
That sounds like what a bard would do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, not ridiculous speed, but maybe like 5-10% faster for the group party so they can get around a little bit more. And if you don't have one, you're, it's going to be a little bit more advantageous for you in a PvP setting. So
Paranaut says I want loot overhead smash augment for main fighter bard.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I believe a lot. Bard should be the lord of the buffs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, like, giving back that mana and stuff, that's going to be just as important to me as healing, because some of those buffs are going to help healers not have to heal as much. I'm going to imagine, right? Reduce damage incoming, which means that I don't have to heal as much. So there's going to be a game of who do we need to protect, keep the supports like going, I feel like a good number of the 8-man groups are going to see one bard and one cleric combo.
And he did say that the buffs right now are only 30 minutes and that food is a possibility to maybe extend them longer. However, one question before I get into that, if a bard casts a buff on you, how far should you be allowed to get away from the group before it becomes null and void, or should it stay on you for the half hour? So if I die, cast buffs on myself and then run away, should I be able to do that? Or should I, like a buff bot, or should I be able to have to be in the presence of the bard?
I mean, no, I think a buff is a buff. It stays on you.
Stays on it? Okay. Yeah, so like a buff bot version.
Yeah, I've never really liked the whole, unless it's legitimately an aura. Like a bard would cast it on themselves.
Okay.
And they hold the buff, and then they can move around a battle to provide that buff to an aura around themselves.
Because that was a big problem in DAOC. People would buy separate accounts and make a druid and or a bard and create a uber superior buff bot, and then they'd get their guy, buff them up, and then run them out and go kill stuff. So that was the problem with that.
Yeah, that's no different than walking around town for 5 minutes and saying, "Hey, I'll give you 50 silver just to cast a free buff on me."
Yeah, they could do that. Yeah,
I'll give you a big thank you if you just cast a free seal on me real quick. I'll eat. Hey, I even have one I can cast on you too.
Some things I want to highlight from what the chat is saying, so that we don't lose them too much.
Yeah.
Sun methods. Well, actually, Pocket Star says, "I'm so curious about the bard comment. I noticed that cleric have a skill to imbue the weapon to restore mana, and if I'm going to be playing a fighter, and fighter has one that regens mana HP on hit, I'm curious if I would need a bard." And I already kind of hinted my thoughts on that, which is that I think that you're going to need a bard. It's going to be more efficient for you because that's a skill that you're not going to need to use in order to keep fighting. Maybe there's another augment that you could add on to it. Instead of giving yourself more mana back, it's maybe dealing more damage, or maybe it's the trade-off is the the healing negate, and then Sun Method says, "I hope there's something like focused casting where a bard can give an area buff until they get smacked and break focus." And that seems like kind of like maybe an aura almost, right? Certain says, "No matter how robust you make the bard, don't underestimate the multi-boxers," which is what we were talking about earlier. And my favorite is he was mentioning, I hope offensive focused bards make groups terrifying. Good inspiration is hard to shake long after you are far from the source. And this is 100% true, right? If you have a good conversation with someone and you feel really good about that conversation, that stays with you for a good period of time, right? So if I'm getting ready to go into the gym and I'm getting pumped and I'm getting that inspiration of yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym, we're gonna have a great day, I get in the gym, I work out, I'm feeling it, I'm still feeling happy an hour later after that. I had a good gym session,
That's when I come outside to a flat tire.
Oh no. The bard is my therapist, absolutely. For anti-bard, dispel, negate, or cleric mage. Yeah, I could see that as well.
No. You know what I also think of when I think of bard is if you can imagine some of the scenes that I'm recalling from some movies where somebody can see in the future just a little bit, and you just see them walking around a chaotic battlefield or even just a random room, and they're making minor adjustments to this and they're moving this just a little bit, and then immediately after just things start happening and you absolutely see why they moved those things. I'm just imagining a bard as the type who would be dancing around combat playing their lute, just trying to build up their, their rhythm, and just casually doing things like that. Just looking over at a tank and just casting a little bit of a defensive field or something on them, and then kind of spinning around and pirouette and cast a mana restoration thing on the healer, and
kind of what you're talking about there, Vertex, like the bard, maybe his aura be interrupted, stuff like that, if he's hit and stuff like that. Same with the healer, if they did add some kind of interrupt factor like that. But we forget that, if I'm not mistaken, tanks are going to have a guard ability, yes? So that should, if you have a guard on you, I would like to think if the tank is close, if it's close. I don't like the current beam, I think that is the guard right now. I don't like that. But if the tank was like in physical range of the healer, well, like he had a shield up or something blocking for it, then the healer should not be able to be interrupted. I think would be and that would be a way to help protect our healers. And it's a way that's worked well in the past. And I hope that they institute something like that as well in this one. I don't know. Sorry to interrupt you. Just that came on the top of my head and just went out with it.
All good. All right. Yeah, let's see. Should we jump into a different topic?
Well, we are at like an hour already.
Really?
Do you want to maybe just cover some of the fan focuses, and then we can head out to read over to Loreforged?
Yeah, bear with me a little bit here.
Boy, an hour already. Vertex really talking away.
Serious. This guy, I tell you
Which
what.
one do you want to show off first? The top one?
Well, let me go ahead and get them pulled up. This will take me a moment.
Okay.
I'm quite ready to jump right into that just at the moment here.
Thank you, Wizzy. Wizzy says, by the way, Bray, TGFT is the only thing pulling me away from my reading this evening. So we are better than a book. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Wizzy.
Also, while he's getting that pulled up, I wanted to ask you guys, how do you like this? Do you like this better? We decided to go ahead and go IRL, where we're hanging out in the tavern with you, which is funny because we totally look like we're sitting behind the bar instead of standing behind the bar.
It does.
It works. But yeah, do you like this? Is this fitting more like what you're feeling? Because I'm liking this so far.
I like it.
But I love seeing you two sitting side by side. Warmed my heart to see. Aw, yay! I'm so happy. It makes me happy. Meet space is better. Yeah, a lot of people mentioned that to us. Like, we asked you guys, we heard your responses. You prefer our IRL stuff because it feels like you can see our reactions. I mean, I'm sure you guys could see me slightly disagreeing with Peon earlier. So
happens a lot. I'm used to it.
You could see our actual reactions, whereas our VTubers don't really do a great job of translating that. But I'm also way more expressive than Vertex is. So if something amuses me, you're going to see it on my face like in an instant.
They all saw it when I was throwing out that healer hate. They saw it.
Yeah. I even given Vertex, I was like, was that respectful? I just didn't want to be rude because I was like, I'm passionate. I love healer, and
I know. And I get it. I want people to play healers. I do. I want them to like their class. I want everyone to like their class.
I'm excited. Also, hi, Crarian. Welcome in. I'm excited that I can probably actually stand my own ground for once as a healer, because usually as a healer, I feel so useless or helpless, in terms of by myself. I can't protect myself even. But if I had Vertex with me, I'd keep both of us alive because he could attack them and hit them harder than I can.
I think it's just a perspective thing. This is the way that I grew up with games. That's the way they were back in the early days of MMOs. They were more helpless. They've progressed as more games have gone to be more solo friendly now. Although I don't believe Ashes is going to be solo friendly.
No, not really. Not comparatively.
This is where where my concerns come in. So if you have a healer that could do really well on solo, he or she's going to be really good in a group. So yeah, that's what scares me.
And I'm sure we'll get around that. But real quick, so there is a artist called B Family, and this is actually, I have the distinct pleasure to say that I was role playing with the person that this character is for. So this is, I believe, if I understand who this character is, it is should be hold on, I gotta check myself before I say something wrong. But I believe this is one of the people that I role play with. I believe this is his character. Let me just double check real quick. Yes, this is Nahili. This is Nahili's art for his character. And Nahili role plays as a pair of sibling. So there's another female pirate that role plays as his sister, and we've been role playing a lot about what happens before Vera. So we're all role playing about like being on Sanctus and things like that. And this was an update to his pirate by B Family. So I thought that was really neat to see, and I just love the pirate art. To be honest, I'm a huge fan. If you guys can't tell, I'm a pirate person. So yeah, I thought it looked nice.
Renkai.
I dig it.
That's okay. You and Jamie get along in that fast. I was like, so Jamie, how excited on 1 to 10 were you for the Renkai? And he was like 1,000. I was like, I called it. Yeah, I'm really so sailor because I will always build for self-sustainability instead of healing others because I love playing the role of distracting bait. Hey, that's not a bad thing, right? Sun Method says, by the way, I was thinking of Edge of Tomorrow 2014, where Tom Cruise fights the same battle and dies hundreds of times, improving strategy every time. That's really cool. And Kurian says, it makes me excited to see the healers. I want to try it out and see if I can make a play style that I enjoy. Right. The toolkit it has at the moment, I'm a bit iffy on. And I think that's where the Augment System's really going to go in and adjust that stuff. So this other one is, I guess, a Tulnar for Simbarb's Tulnar.
Simarb Tulnari.
Tonar.
An eater of the scaled order.
Ooh.
And for those that can't read it, the little message blurb there says, "Let me free the essence from the shackles of your flesh."
Oh, that sounds creepy. That sounds like they're worshiping maybe the others.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about that way, doesn't it?
It does. But Peon, do you have any reflection or any last words that you would like to leave our audience
any last
with?
words before we kick you out the door?
Oh my god.
Other than I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a lot of fun arguing about healers. It's you could probably have a podcast every week about
later.
So, but no, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and thank you for the people who stopped in to watch tonight. I hopefully Chibi and Vertec entertained you guys. Are you not entertained? And
entertained.
So feel free to come by and talk to me. Visit my YouTube, and but other than that, yeah.
Sweet.
For me,
speaking of.
I'm gonna go ahead and get this raid going. But for me, my final thoughts are I'm excited to see what the Augment System is going to be like, especially when it comes to other classes. I can't wait to play with that in Alpha 2.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I have a whole lot of takeaways outside of watching that live stream. I like the direction that combat is moving. They're making progress on it. Things are happening. Fighter looks like a beast. It has a nice little toolkit. And I'm more excited to see what they do with Tank. Also, I'm looking forward to whenever they're going to rename Tank or change all of the other classes to the description of what they do instead of their actual class identity. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us. Very, very, very much appreciated. You spent your time here, and once you spend it, you do not get refunds. So it's very, very valuable, and you guys are heroes.
And you guys could have gone out and made your own podcast, but instead you're here hanging out with ours. So we appreciate you. And now we're going to raid over to Loreforged. And I already chose Loreforged, but now Nice is live.
Oh, no.
Thank you, everybody.
Gosh.
Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't
Thank you,
rated
guys.
Warforged in a while. Everybody take care. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.